are treating this investment as some kind of a badge of honor and a certification that the 2G allocation policy was an honest policy. Let us first of all recollect what the 2G spectrum allocation policy was. In the year 2007 and 8, spectrum was being given not by an auction, not by a market mechanism determining the price of 2007 and 8, but on basis of a price discovery which was made in 2001. That is, in 2007 and 8, spectrum was being allocated by the UPA government on basis of 2001 prices. Per licensee, the spectrum value was fixed at rupees 1,734 crores. That is 1,734 crores. Even within the policy implementation, there was huge element of arbitrariness. The cutoff date was advanced. The first come, first serve policy was intended to serve only a selected few. Even this policy was arbitrarily changed and converted into a first come, first pay policy. And the favorite chosen few were informed in advance about the change of policy. And this was evidence from the fact that the favorites had got bank drafts already prepared in the previous week to whom the policy had been reached out. On basis of all this, in February 2012, the Supreme Court upheld this challenge and quashed this policy of first come, first serve, or first come, first pay. So that this was a corrupt, dishonest policy has already been upheld by the Supreme Court in February 2012. Each and every case of spectrum allocation was quashed by the Supreme Court as arbitrary and unfair. The policy was quashed as unfair and intended to cause loss to Government of India. And the government was directed to have a fresh policy by which an auction would take place. And thereafter, the auctions of spectrum started. The same spectrum which was being allocated at rupees 1,734 crores to every allottee. Finally, during the NDA government, when it was subsequent spectrum was allotted by auctioning, in 2015, we got 1,10,000 crores. And in 2016, we got 65,000 crores. So the fact that the policy had caused loss is clear from the fact that the subsequent auction got a much higher price. So what are then the facts? The policy was arbitrary and designed to promote corruption. It was implemented in an unfair manner. It was causing loss of revenue to government. And auctioning was getting much higher price. The Supreme Court verdict already, we don't have to even look at CAG report. The CAG report finally resulted in a Supreme Court verdict. We have to look at the verdict. And then we have to look at the amounts collected by subsequent auctions. Now, for this entire scam, Who is liable? In a criminal case, the special judge has said nobody is liable. I am sure the investigating and the prosecuting agency will look at it. These charge sheets were filed under directions of the Supreme Court during the UPA government. The prosecutors were appointed by the Supreme Court. And now that the court has said that for this entire corruption which took place, nobody is liable, I am sure the investigative agencies will have a close look at it and decide what to do further in the matter. Let us be clear. The fact that this was a corrupt policy intended to promote corruption and that it resulted in a loss already stands established, both by the Supreme Court verdict and by the fact of subsequent auction. There is nothing in this that the Congress party should consider it as some kind of a certificate as far as they are concerned. आज जो 2G मामले में वर्डिक्ट आया है, कांग्रेस का नेतृत्व ऐसे वक्तव्य दे रहा है जैसे कोई सम्मान पत्र उसको मिल गया। अगर इसके पूरे वाकयात देखे जाएं तो 2007 और 8 में 2001 के दाम पर बिना नीलामी के, बिना मार्केट मैकेनिज्म इसका पता लगाए हुए कि उस बिल का दाम क्या है, स्पेक्ट्रम की नीति बनाई गई और कुछ लोगों को दिया गया। उस नीति के तहत भी उसको लागू करने के तहत भी आर्बिट्रेरीनेस थी। शायद कुछ लोगों को गोल पोस्ट बीच में बदल दी गई, कट ऑफ डेट एडवांस कर दी गई, फर्स्ट कम फर्स्ट सर्व की पॉलिसी को फर्स्ट पे फर्स्ट सर्व कर दिया गया और उसके बाद जब ये विषय सामने आया सीएजी रिपोर्ट के बाद, तो फरवरी 2012 में सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इसको आर्बिट्ररी, भ्रष्ट और देश का नुकसान करने वाली नीति जो मनमानी से लागू की जा रही है, उस बुनियाद पे उसको रद्द कर दिया और कहा आगे से नीलामी है। और नीलामी का असर यह हुआ कि जब हर व्यक्ति को 1734 करोड़ रुपए में जो स्पेक्ट्रम मिल रहा था फिक्स्ड रेट में 2001 के दाम पे, जब सब्सिक्वेंट बाद में स्पेक्ट्रम की नीलामी हुई तो 2015 में 1,10,000 करोड़ मिला और 2016 में 65,000 करोड़ मिला।
In the year 2007 and 8, spectrum was being given not by an auction, not by a market mechanism determining the price of 2007 and 8, but on basis of a price discovery which was made in 2001. That is, in 2007 and 8, spectrum was being allocated by the UPA government on basis of 2001 prices. Per licensee, the spectrum value was fixed at rupees 1,734 crores. That is 1,734 crores. Even within the policy implementation, there was huge element of arbitrariness. The cut-off date was advanced. The first come, first serve policy was intended to serve only a selected few. Even this policy was arbitrarily changed and converted into a first come, first pay policy. And the favorite chosen few were informed in advance about the change of policy. And this was evidence from the fact that the favorites had got bank drafts already prepared in the previous date to whom the policy had been leaked out. On basis of all this, in February 2012, the Supreme Court upheld this challenge and quashed this policy of first come, first serve or first come, first pay. So that this was a corrupt, dishonest policy has already been upheld by the Supreme Court in February 2012. Each and every case of spectrum allocation was quashed by the Supreme Court as arbitrary and unfair. The policy was quashed as unfair and intended to cause loss to Government of India. And the government was directed to have a fresh policy by which an auction would take place. And thereafter the auctions of spectrum started.
ये है ABP News, आपको रखे आगे।